Hey there guys, welcome back to the Doug and Racecraft YouTube channel. On this episode, we got new wheels, new gears, and some top speed runs. Alright, here we go, back for another video. As the title suggests, we got some new wheelie boys. Look at that stuff, would you? So in the back, 17x10 from a S197. And in the front, it is a 17x7 with the front, forgot to point that out. Obviously, I don't have center cap on here. With these old style spindles and the bearings, the way these are set up, it just doesn't clear the center cap. So over the winter, going to 0304 Cobra brakes. Mustang Steve makes a kit for first gen Mustang, but it's for using Mustang II spindles. You use a 69 Mustang drum brake hub with the right bearings and everything, and the 0304 Cobra rotor slides over that. Have 0304 Cobra brakes. So luckily this wheel's big enough that it'll work for that too. Bought these new, sold the old wheels obviously. So these are the same wheels that were on it before, but these are obviously a 17 inch. The old ones were 15. So it was a 15x9.25 in the back and a 15x4 in the front. And I don't know about you, but I absolutely love the way this looks now. The stance on this is so much better than it was before. I love the old wheels and I do like that old muscle car rake, but this is just such a more modern look, and I mean, you really can't beat it. We went to a 26-inch tire in the back. Before we had a 28-inch tire, so it was still a Mickey Thompson ET Street SS. So before we had a 275/60/15, now we're a 275/40/17. So the 275/60 is a 28-inch tall tire, and the 275/40 is a 26-inch tall tire, which is what I built this car for originally when I did all the suspension and everything. I had gone to the 28s because a buddy of mine, Jeremy, hi Jeremy, had them. Bought them from him, and they worked really well. I liked the tall tire. Taller tire, you obviously get the better contact patch versus the shorter tire, and with the 411, it was perfect. But going back to a 26-inch tall tire, my math is a little off when I did the calculations originally when I was first putting this car together. So we were a little high RPM on the highway. We were pretty close to running out of gear in the quarter mile. So that's mainly what this car does. Obviously street duty, a little bit of track duty. So we went to a 350 gear set. That'll give us a lot of room to grow in the future. So the 7,500 RPMs in the top of fourth, it'll be roughly 140 miles an hour, which this may do someday. We don't know, not yet. Not yet, but someday, just not today. So without further ado, we're gonna flip it around, jack it up, start taking it apart. All right, so we got the lovely rear end out. Aside from changing the rear gear, the main reason I took this out of the car was because I saw that it was leaking a little bit. Not necessarily leaking, but you can see that we have a little bit of saturation right here. I don't remember explicitly, but I remember at some point maybe, blowing a hole in here somewhere when I was welding this brace on, and I'm assuming that's where it's coming from. As you can see on this side, nice and dry, and over here, we're nice and saturated, have, rocks and stuff, debris. And before you say it, I know it's not coming out of the fill. I already checked that. I can see the smallest bubbles right here. You're not even gonna be able to see that on camera. I can see a couple little bubbles forming right here. So while I have the housing apart, I am gonna go ahead and weld that back up. All right, so we got a third member out after a lot of fussing around. This is a new gear set we're going with. This is the 350 gear from Motive Gear and Performance, not sponsored. Just telling you who I got it from. Reasonably inexpensive, and from all the reviews that I saw, pretty good quality. Reason going from a 411 to a 350 is because of tire height. With the new wheel setup that I got, I went from a 28-inch tall tire with the previous setup to a 26-inch tire. Main reason for that was because with the 28-inch tire, I had to jack the rear suspension up high enough to obviously clear the tire, and when I did that, it threw off my drive shaft angle, so I had 6 degrees of drive shaft angle, which is a lot. So needed to lower it back down. When I originally did everything, I had set it up for the 26-inch tall tire, so that's what we're going back to, and this will give me some room to go for mile an hour in the quarter mile. So at the very top of 4th gear, this will give me 130 miles an hour. Without having to shift into 5th, so obviously room to grow. Let's start taking it apart and put you on the time lapse and get it taken care of. All right, something worth noting here is I don't use a crush sleeve. I use spacers so that essentially you don't have to bother with the crush sleeve. All you have to do is torque the nut down. It's like 110 foot-pounds or something like that. Reuse the old pinion bearing because the bearing had less than 1,000 miles on it. So we're gonna go ahead, slide this through here. There she is. And then I also have to use a spacer for my yoke, as you can see here. Just for the yoke. I don't know why Strange does that. I'm assuming it's for something having to do with their Daytona pinion races, or pinion supports rather. All right. So essentially what you're looking for here, there's a set amount of preload you want to look for here. I don't know what it is. I'm gonna go look it up here in a second, but essentially it obviously needs to spin free, but also have load on the bearings. Essentially the reason you need a crush sleeve is because it needs something to push back against, because if you just torque this nut down without a crush sleeve in there, all you're doing is torquing against the bearing, so you'll end up locking it up solid, and the bearing's obviously going to burn up. So you need something to push back against, and what a crush sleeve does is it's made out of spring steel, and it springs back, pushes back against the end of the yoke here, and that's what that does. So if you can replace that, you do know what your precise depth's going to be. So they send you one thick shim and then a bunch of little ones after that, and you need to fine tune to see what everything ends up being. So pretty simple stuff there. Let's get back to it. All right. I got everything set back up again. I did end up changing a pinion shim. And before you ask, I am using a toothbrush to brush on my gear marking compound. And you might ask why. Because I'm brushing my teeth. Just get a nice good coat on there. And shove it back through. Want to put as much, like a little bit of load on the pinion, so that it actually will imprint well on the gear. Ooh, and that's actually almost perfect. Yeah, that actually looks great. I'll take a picture and put it on the screen just so I don't have to move the camera around. But before on the drive side, it was towards the toe of the gear. So I added more pinion shim, which will bring the pinion out. When your gear is marking too close to the inside, to the toe of the gear, it means the pinion's too deep. So on a 9-inch, since the third member comes apart and the pinion support comes out, you shim the pinion support. That's why the shims are big like this, versus 8.8s have shims like this, that you have to take the pinion back apart, press the pinion bearing off the pinion, shim the bearing there, and it's just, I hate doing that. I would, every day of the week, I would much rather deal with a 9-inch. So gear is actually marking a little bit closer than I would like. I'm gonna go and check this back and just verify that this is gonna be a good one. I really hate noisy gears, so I'm gonna check backlash. If it's good, we're gonna throw it back in. All right, we're gonna try and set this third member in without dropping it. I don't like to use gaskets because gaskets were a conspiracy conspired by the gasket companies to sell more gaskets. So we're not using one, I use silicone. Don't you think it's weird that the only companies that make silicone are the same companies that make gaskets? Of course, I'm just joshing around, but... Oh. Come on. There we go. Ta-da! Okay, so it's finished up. Over the process of doing the gears, also rewired the car so the car will start independently of the body harness, so that I can take the dash out, still start the car without having the body harness in it. Is just to troubleshoot stuff if I ever have to. I should have done this way to begin with, but hindsight's 2020. Also, I updated the tune. So with the shorter gear, shorter numerical gear, I should say, it's going to be revving slower through the RPM band. So it's commanding the shifts at, say, it goes off of output shaft speed, so I won't get too much into that. But with the taller gear, the engine's gonna rev slower. So it's effectively gonna shift sooner because the engine's revving slower. So updated shift schedule a little bit so the speedometer and everything's right, even though this car doesn't have a speedometer. The PCM does though. So let's get it fired up and we're gonna go to the event. We're going to a car show put on by a local club, Low Standards if you're around the Dubuque area. Should be a really good time. They're also gonna be doing airport passes. So this is at an airport, it's called Wings and Wheels. You can get into the car show or you can pay $15 for one run or $25 for two runs to make a pass down the airstrip. I think this airstrip's roughly half mile, so from what it sounds like, it's gonna be a quarter-mile pass, quarter-mile shutdown. So without further ado, let's get into that. All right, so we're getting ready to make our first pass. We got Kate in the car with us. Say hi to the folks at home, Kate.
What's up?
Made a couple tuning changes. Did the rear gear like you guys saw before in the video. So we'll see what these changes end up bringing. Can I roll into it?
Maybe.
Good. All right, so we're going to wrap this video up here. Is the King Cobra finally done? To make a long story short, yes, I'm going to say so. I want to get the mechanicals, really shaken down. It's to the point now where it's running awesome, driving great. Starts up every time. The tune's pretty much dialed in. Still a couple small things to tweak, but all in all, I am super thrilled with the way this car's going so far. So next thing that's going to come up for this, we're going to take the car back to the track with the new updates that we've made and see how those changes have affected the ET and mile an hour of the car. I've seen before where you go to a lower numerical gear and you'll end up picking up a couple mile an hour. We'll see if that ends up working out. But that's just going to be something you have to wait and see. So like I said, next video is going to be going back to the track. Wanted to tie into this video, but this video just ended up being too long for that. So in the very near future, I'm going to go ahead and put that video out. If you like this video, make sure you like the video. If you want to see more of this content, please consider subscribing. Leave any comments, questions you have down below. That's going to do it for this video. I hope to catch you in the next one. Y'all take care now.